Hi, my name is Tim Mackey. I'm one of the founders of the Bible Project. And the verse of the day today is from the Old Testament book of 2 Samuel, chapter 7, verse 22. And it reads, "How great you are, sovereign Lord. There is no one like you. There is no God but you, as we have heard with our own ears." These are words of King David. This is kind of at the peak of his career, so to speak. And in 2 Samuel chapter 7, King David offered to build God a really fancy house, a temple, because God's been living in a really nice but tabernacle that Moses built him, quite a few hundred years ago. And what God essentially says to David is, yeah, no thanks. I don't need a nice house. I've already got one. But what I'm going to do for you, David, is build you a house. What follows in 2 Samuel 7 is one of the most important promises that will lead forward to the arrival of Jesus as the king from the line of David, who will do for Israel and for all humanity what we cannot do for ourselves. This is what you call a messianic promise of the coming Messiah in the Old Testament. So David hears that there's going to be a future descendant that's going to come from his line that will rule God's kingdom forever and ever. And this is David's response, to say there's no God like the God of Israel, who would continue to be faithful to his promises no matter how unfaithful we have been. And so he says, there's no one like you, and there is no true God except you. We've heard this with our ears, because with his own ears, he just heard about God's promise to be faithful and send that future coming king who will save Israel and will save all of creation, though we don't deserve it, and though we're incapable of doing it ourselves. And so it's a note of praise that David sings. It's a note of praise that we would all do well to repeat as we think about Jesus of Nazareth, raised from the dead to become king of heaven and earth, to fulfill this promise to David. Sovereign Lord, there's no one like you, no God but you. We have heard this story about the promises leading up to Jesus. We've heard it with our own ears.